Welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some mince pies. I've made mince pies before on the YouTube channel and on my blog. These are going to be slightly different because I saw a suggestion of a mince pie which was topped with a Viennese Whirl type biscuit batter, and I thought that was looked like a good idea, so I thought I'd try them using my basic mince pie pastry recipe, filling it with mincemeat, and then my Viennese Whirl Viennese Whirl recipe to make the batter and put that on top. So I'm going to do it in these little silver cases which are slightly smaller than a muffin cup, and I'm going to put them into the muffin cup just for ease of lining them with the pastry really, but then I'll put them onto a baking tray to actually bake later. So it's actually quite a simple recipe, but it takes a little bit of time because you make the two different types of dough and you chill the first type of dough before you actually put it into the cups. But I'll go on to the ingredients. And for the pastry base I have 260 grams, which is 1 2/3 cups, based on plus 2 teaspoons. That's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 2 medium egg yolks, which would be large in the USA. I have 50 grams, 1/4 cup of caster sugar. I have 150 grams, 10 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons of softened unsalted butter. I have 2.5 milliliters, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a pinch of salt. Then I'm going to use about 454 grams, which is 1 pound of mincemeat. So one of these jars is 411 grams, and that's enough to fill about 11 of my mince pies. The 12th one and a little bit for the 11th will come out of another jar. But if you only have one jar, then that would be fine. And then for the Viennese Whirl batter, I have 250 grams, 1 2/3 cups, again based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 60 grams, 1/2 cup of corn flour. I have 50 grams, 6 tablespoons of icing sugar. I have 250 grams, which is 2 sticks plus 1.5 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter. And I have 2.5 milliliters, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I don't need the ingredients for the Viennese Whirl batter at the moment. We'll go on to make the pastry for the mince pies. And for that, I'm going to put my softened butter into a larger bowl, and I'm going to cream that with my caster sugar. And you could do this by hand, it's just that with a hand mixer it tends to be much quicker. So I'll also put the salt in at this stage. And I'll cream these together. That's good enough. And then I'm going to add my egg yolks. I'll try to add them one at a time. And the vanilla extract, and I'll mix them again. So that's the egg yolks mixed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my flour in and I'm going to mix this on a low speed until that all comes together, and then I'll get my hand in and pull it into a dough. And that's actually quite good. That's clumping now. I'll scrape down the side of the bowl and turn that over. And I can see that if I press that, it's going to come into a dough. So I'll use my hand and just squeeze that until it does come into a nice dough. And that's good like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that into some plastic wrap, and I'm going to shape it into a disc, and I'm going to chill it. And with that in the plastic wrap, I'm going to chill that for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, I'll divide it and we'll put it into the little foil cups ready to fill. While the pastry dough is chilling in the fridge, I'll go on and I'll make the dough for the Viennese whirls. And I'm going to use basically the same bowl. I've just wiped it out. It doesn't need to be washed simply because it's only had the pastry dough in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my butter into the bowl, and then I'm going to add my corn flour into the flour mixture, into the flour should I say, and I'm going to give that a little bit of a mix around, and I'll add the sugar in as well, and I'm going to mix that around, and then I'm going to sift it over the butter. And that's only because there's some icing sugar in it which has some lumps. And what I'll do, I'll also put my half a teaspoon of vanilla extract into the butter, and before I go any further, I'll just whisk that butter a little bit before I sift the flour over the top. That's good enough. So then I'll sift the flour, the sugar and the corn flour. So that's sifted quite well. And I'm going to use my hand mixer and I'm just going to mix that together. So that's mixed into a thick paste, and I'm going to put that into a piping bag. Now I'm actually only going to put some of it in at first, just to make it easier to pipe. I can refill the bag as necessary, and I'm using a star type nozzle to make a pattern when I pipe it. So I'll take some and just put it in. And I'll just squeeze that down, and that will then be ready to pipe. I'll set that to one side for a moment. And then with my dough, I'm going to cut that into 12 pieces, as near as I can, equally sized. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll that into a ball, sort of, and I'm going to put that into the aluminium foil cup, and I'm going to press it down and line the cup. And that's lined reasonably well. I'm going to do the same with the remainder. And with the 12 aluminium foil cases filled, I'm going to take about a heaped dessert spoon, 38 grams of mincemeat, and I'm going to push it into each of the prepared cases. So I have filled the cases with the mincemeat like that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe over the Viennese whirl batter. And with those piped, I have more batter left, and I'm going to pipe that in swirls onto a parchment paper and a baking tray, and I'll bake those separately for Viennese Whirl biscuits, basically. But that's not what this recipe is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chill those in the fridge while I preheat my oven to 190 Celsius. That's 170 Celsius with a fan 375 Fahrenheit. And once the oven is up to temperature, I take everything out of the fridge, put them in the oven to bake, and I will bake them for about 25 minutes. And that's to bake the pastry case through. If the biscuits on the top seem to be browning too quickly, I will cover them lightly with some aluminium foil to bake them through to the full 25 minutes. Then I'll take them out of the oven and allow them to cool down. And once they've cooled down, I'll come back and we'll have a taste. I baked the mince pies with a Viennese whirl on top for 25 minutes. I didn't need to cover them. Some of them browned slightly more than others, but they were fine. So I've taken them out of the oven and they're still very warm, very hot in fact. But I've taken one out of the case. This is what they look like. And the one that I've taken out of the case, you can see the filling in there like that. So I'll have a taste of this one. Very, very good. The mincemeat, as always, is lovely, fruity, sweet. The pastry is soft and crumbly, and that Viennese Whirl biscuit just melts in the mouth. So these are very good indeed. I think I would prefer them when they've cooled down, but you can serve them warm, certainly, maybe with some whipped cream or something like that. So I hope you've enjoyed this recipe. It's a nice alternative to my other more traditional type of mince pies, which you can see on the channel or on my blog. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you subscribe, also click on the bell icon, because that will then send you notifications when I put new videos online. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.